Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Well, how do you like my thumbnail? Crime-ridden garbage dump. Is Kamala going to be coronated? We shall see. I understand that there's already a bunch of peaceful protests going on around the city, and they've boarded up a bunch of buildings. They even got a company that's got a dedicated name for boarding up buildings there in Chicago. And how wild is it going to get? They put a big barricade up around all the beautiful people. And I guess the regular people in the city are just going to have to suck it up and live with it. Well, tomorrow night is Death Valley. Death Valley. That's what Mr. T called it. Death Valley. When Joe gets to say his fond farewells, and I saw a schedule throughout the week. It's going to be Joe and Hillary, I believe, tomorrow. Boy, ain't that a pair! But Joe and Hillary, and then it's going to be Barack, and I guess I don't know when Bill Clinton's going to speak. It's going to be interesting, but I watching it. I guess I'm gonna have to compare it to what I've said in the past. Is kind of like when you open the fridge and there's sour milk in there, and for some reason you just got to open the top up and smell it. You just can't throw it out and turn your head. But so I might end up watching it. I don't know. We'll see. Or just get reports for all these fine creators that are out there that watch stuff like this, so we don't have to. But I don't know. I may watch it and may not. We'll see. Hi, Joan. How you doing? Lucy, Diane, Sissy, Angel, Gary, Diane, Kim, Kicking Bird. Wow, we got a lot of people showing up. MS Motorsports. Damon, nice to see all of you. Candace Cleanup. Yeah, the storm is upon us. Kamala's squad put out something that said storm in it. I can pull it up out of my studio. I thought that was an interesting choice of words coming for that bunch. Hi, Angel. Chris, how you doing? Chicago is going crazy. Well, let it roll. It's just like, just play all the videos from Portland and Milwaukee. It's going to be a broken record. It's going to be the same crap. Now, I saw one article, I think it was ABC or somebody like that, put out that they said 50,000 people were expected to show up for the convention. Not protesters. I guess tourists and everything else. Then I see another one says 100,000 protesters are going to show up. So whichever number is correct, 100,000 or 50,000, whatever's correct, that's probably 20% of the expected crowd for J and then 6, right? They didn't call out the National Guard on that magic day. They didn't beef up their security on that day when there was anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million listening to Donald Trump. But now we got these estimates of 500 to 100,000, roughly 10% of a crowd. And you look at what they've called out. Look how much policing they've got stationed in the streets, how much preparatory work they've done. Why couldn't they have done that for J6? Oh, that's right, because it was a production. Ha ha ha, Pappy Two Bears, how you doing, Island Girl? Nice to see you. Gloria, glad you could make it. Tracy, we go down memory lane. Well, people were going down memory lane for the 1968 convention, showing videos. I forgot they called out the National Guard for that. And they did. They had National Guardsmen called out, and they had all kinds of 10,000 police officers, and it was wild. I mean, they were giving out wood shampoos right there in the stands, dragging them long hairs around. The Daily Machine, remember that? The Chicago Daily Machine. Hi, Redhausen, how you doing? William, how you doing? David, Dreamer, Bill, Benjamin. All right, we got everybody rolling. I don't know how many of you all remember that 1968 Hubert Humphrey running. He was the primary winner. He was going to get nominated, and he did get nominated. Now, he was not wanting to shut down the Vietnam War. That was what that was all about. He wasn't far from a warmonger, but he ended up losing big time to Richard Nixon. And that started a whole chain of events. We heard a lot from General Flynn. Yeah, he's brought up about how the intelligence services are really the ones behind the keys to the White House, the steps to the throne, and the manipulation of media, social media, the mainstream media, all being done by intelligence services to try to run this country, election interference, undemocratic, illegal psychological warfare campaigns. He didn't say that, I said it, but I'm repeating what Mr. T said. Okay, and I think that's what we're boiling down to. Did you all watch Mr. T at his rally? That place was packed to the rafters. You didn't see any black curtains all around the top two tiers, like they did with Kamala. Of course, he didn't have any rappers or anybody up there shaking their rear ends. He didn't pay anybody to be there. And the place was packed. The disingenuous nature of our news services and the blatant outright lies, I think, are being documented and going to be exposed. I tell you what, though, we've got the 18th, which is Trump sentencing day, right? Wow, that's 30 days from now. But prior to that sentencing day on the 16th, there's going to be some kind of hearing, pre-sentencing hearing, I guess, or motions hearing or something like that on the 16th. So that's 28 days. And General Flynn said he wouldn't be surprised if they do put Trump in jail. They're running out of options. And this judge apparently is bought and paid for, and he's got to perform. So we'll see what happens with that. It was completely sold out. He had 11,000 outside that couldn't get in. Jerry, how you doing? Roberto. Yeah, Dreamer, that's what he said. He said Chuck Schumer should have been put in jail for those awful comments he made to the Supreme Court. And I keep on harping about these YouTube creators that have law licenses. I don't know if they're practicing. There's a difference between being a lawyer and an attorney. Some of them, I don't know if they got bar cards, they don't have bar cards, what states they're in or whatever. But I tell you what, these ones that are promulgating outright falsehoods and stirring up invective and vitriol, I think they're going to lose their licenses, and they damn well should. But he said Chuck Schumer should have been put in jail for that, and then he did qualify. He said, or had a very stern talking to, or something to that effect. In other words, the Senate should have done something. The Senate should have made a motion to censure him and put it in the books on the floor of Congress, in the congressional record, what he did, and disciplinary action. He sure in hell shouldn't be the majority leader. But we know it's all rigged, and they call it a good old boys network. I don't know about that, calling it that, but it's the beautiful people crowd. It's a big club, and you and I ain't in it. So, General Flynn said, so that judge, I believe, is going to put Trump in jail. That's what he's saying. And one of the things he said, and when you think about that, remember what we were saying when he was going down to Georgia? Before all these happenings with the attempt on Trump. Oh, they're going to have to deal with the Secret Service. Yeah, how are they going to put Trump in jail when they got to go past the authority of the Secret Service? Well, after what happened, I'm just sitting around going, Secret Service. I mean, look at all the nonsense stories that come out about them and their ineffectiveness, the lack of training, the poor judgment, and yes, DEI hires. I know Trump did praise the ones that gathered around him and did what they were, trained to do. But the ball was dropped more than one time. And so now this Judge Merchan sentenced him to jail. You don't really have that same feeling like, the Secret Service is going to do something. I could make a wisecrack about the one going, I'll say feed her child with her relatives in a supposedly emergency room. What in the world? And nobody has been fired over that, other than one who resigned. What's her name? Cheetos or whatever they call her. That's right, Debbie. Fences and walls work. Yeah, they're putting them up all around there in Chicago. Benjamin gave up his bar card. Okay. I had a air quotes friend of mine who kept talking about how every time he'd get pulled over for suspicion of DUI, he'd open his wallet up. On the right side was his license, on the left side was his bar card. He always got let go. He thought, well, that was so funny. He was younger than me. I knew him since he was a 12-year-old. He's got more nerve than a bum tooth. But there's a lot of them like that. A lot of them like that. Oh, I'm just looking through the chats here. Hi, Jason. How you doing? So we shall see if he. I've heard pundits say that even if he sentences him to a jail term, that it would not start till after the election. And I don't know the mechanics of it. I don't know why the Supreme Court has the posture they have on it right now. Maybe timing is everything. Okay, optics are very important. And we also know that Trump is not formally a convicted felon unless the judge imposes a sentence. That's one thing that we've learned over the past couple of months. So these people are around, he's a convicted felon. No, he's not. Okay. Now, the judge could there's little nuances the judge could determine a sentence, but is it still a conviction if he hasn't imposed the sentence? So we'll be getting down to little games like that. We'll see how that goes. Hi, Em. How you doing? Ali, how you doing? Chicago. Oh, bummer. Oh, Bummer's going to speak. I forget when he's going to speak. Joe has got Death Valley night, which is tomorrow night. How late is that stuff going to go? I mean, if it's like 10 o'clock at night, I don't know. I don't think it's going to go that late. I'm talking Washington time. Hi, Jet Lag. How you doing? So anyway, we're going to find out more of these nuances in sentencing and finer points of the law. And like I said, Flynn was also saying that the intelligence community at the top level works to basically try to control who's ever in power, not just the presidency. Okay? But that made me remember an X that was put out by Paul Sperry and retruthed by Donald Trump a couple of weeks ago. And Trump will put out something with no comment. I find those interesting. He'll just put it up there. Kind of like the old Facebook thing, I'll just leave this here. So he put out something from Paul Sperry that he just left here. And it said, breaking. Sources say former prosecutor and National Intel Director John Ratcliffe tops Trump's list for Attorney General and plans to criminally prosecute CIA contractors and employees who broke laws against interfering in elections when they ran an influence op in 20, and then the other half is 20. And Trump just put it out there a couple of weeks ago. Now, I find interesting is where he said CIA contractors, okay? Ratcliffe is going to prosecute them. So I guess that means Mike Davis is not going to be the Attorney General. He said he would be. He felt he would be. But this is talk about John Ratcliffe, who was Director of National Intelligence under Trump, and who they delayed giving a report to until after the election, until after Trump left office, actually. And the report was concerning election security. People purposefully delayed that. Now, that wouldn't be CIA contractors. And I'm just postulating things based on stuff that I've read, that we're going to see two different types of prosecutions. M and C, military and civilian. So I believe that the ones Ratcliffe are going to do will be civilian prosecutions, right? In civilian courts, because they're not the ones calling the shots; they're the ones taking the shots. Mens reis, actus reis. Okay, the meanings of their actions. They were following orders. Now, they're not in a position to know the overall impact of what they're told to do, but they're doing it. But it stays in civilian court, because of their disconnect from the decision makers, who would be not CIA contractors, but sworn officers, CIA officials. I believe they'll be handled by a, quote, very special prosecutor. And that would be, I believe, in the military sense. Because these characters are not going to get away with it. And we know some of the big names, like John Brennan and Clapper. And it's not going to be just CIA. It's going to be the three-letter agencies. You all know them. I don't want to get myself flagged. Since then, you live near Chicago and haven't heard anything about fire. Well, it's early. You know, they're all just getting settled in. They're handing out maps and, hi, Lori. Coordinating, and, you know, these types of things are highly coordinated, kind of like the California wildfires. Whoa, what do I got here? So I got a notice. Holy cow. Boom, boom, boom. Gary went to buy me a coffee. I appreciate it, Gary, very much for supporting this channel here this evening and last night. I want to thank everybody, plus Gary. And, you know, if y'all could give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it while you're thinking about it. Helps the word to get around. And I appreciate Mike and Bev for supporting the channel. This month I've had Tennessee, Miss Mendersu, Aaron, Love to Garden. I appreciate all you all helping the channel. Everybody else is going to buy me a coffee. So if you get a chance, hit that thumbs up button for me. And somebody give Gary some booms in the chat. Boom, boom, boom. I appreciate it very much. So Diane says she saw that there was some fires started in Chicago. Well, I guess they're starting right when they hit the ground. Well, since then, do you see any rogue elements wandering around looking for a place to spend the night? I guess they just go into a bush somewhere. Since it doesn't look like anything's popped off yet. Oh, Lou Valentino says this stuff going on. Well, I think it's a little early. They got to get coordinated. They got to get settled in. And there's nothing happening at the convention center right now. You know, so they may have some fringe elements going out there, got themselves a little messed up. No, really messed up. And who knows? And then you'll have, you know, what happens in these situations. You got your regular criminals who you know, they want their sneakers, they want to loot stores, and they will wait till the right time to come out. And nothing political, but totally take advantage of the chaos to just be criminals. So that's going to exacerbate the situation. That's right, Ali Mercan. He does need to be in jail. Engeron, Mercan, Kaplan, all of them need to be in jail. I still got some question marks about the one in D.C. What's her name with the wild eyes? She hadn't really done anything big yet. So she may be just, because we have been told that there are patriots in trusted positions. You never know who's working both sides. Somebody's got to be on the inside documenting things. Benjamin's in suburban Chicago, just protesting. Oh yeah, these characters, they stay in the fart sack till, they get up at the crack of lunch, maybe the crack of lunch, and they'll stay up till 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and then they'll go to bed, sleep all day, get up with their marching orders. Yeah, all the court cases are on life support, but they're keeping them up. Speaking of life support, the polls that they're putting out for Kamala, and Trump has made notice before, and I've said it before, that push polling is illegal. It's a form of election interference, and in this particular case, it's also a part of the illegal psychological warfare campaigns. And they're being kind of crafty about it. I hope you all have been paying attention to Rasmussen Reports and also Depressed Ginger and a couple other channels that I put up, and I'll put up some more. But they are using older polls when Kamala was supposedly at her zenith. Every election, 2016 and 2020, they underpolled Trump anywhere from 6 to 9 points in every race, every state, every election. And there's nothing to say they're not using those same methods. So even with all this stretching the truth, weighing the samples, blah, 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 they've got Kamala in their brains limping ahead supposedly of Trump by a point, a half a point, 1.2 points, something stupid like that. And which one was it? It was Bloomberg last time. It was at a university, I think. I can't think of the name of it. But they came out with a crazy poll that they put in with the average. They had Kamala up double digits or something wild that took all the other polls and took the average up. Even with that kind of chicanery, she's only up maybe a point, according to these fraudulent polls. And Rasmussen Reports, interactive polls, which is associated with Rasmussen Reports, all show Trump up anywhere from 4 to 9. 4 to 9. And they have been on the mark the past 2, 3, 4 elections. Let's see. Let me look at, whoa, where'd my General Flynn stuff go? So anyway, let's see. Where did I put him? Well, I have to come across it. I tell you, some of these YouTube creators are doing a little investigative work too. They usually do videos on the latest movies and critique them and stuff like that. But one of them came out with a video on, of all people, Mark Hamill. This guy is called, what's his name? Yellow Flash 2. He does videos on Hollywood and stuff like that. But he put out something on Mark Hamill, a video, says Kamala Harris paying Star Wars actor Mark Hamill to support her. An influencer drops super PAC emails. So they have got a budget of millions and millions of dollars that they're dumping out there. We've seen that one young creator that had a fit and was hollering and carrying on, that the Secret Service had called him multiple times. I think he's a kick streamer, which is mostly for kids, that they were wanting him to interview Kamala, and he wanted to pay him, I think, $10,000. Some people on the street are saying that the going rate for a fairly large influencer is like 20 grand. And if you do something like interview her, edited, controlled, contrived, and post it on your page, you get 20 big ones. So they were offering him 10, and he kept refusing, and kept calling him. And so he did a video about it, and it's been going all around. Now you see even people of the status of a Mark Hamill. Now, granted, most people know for him being Luke Skywalker, but he's not a poor person who's been out of the spotlight. He's been doing voiceovers for the Joker and the Batman series. He's been in the recent, the most recent Lucasfilms Star Wars movies. He's got money, but they're paying him to push Kamala. And it'll be funny to read those DMs and emails that are coming out. Hi, Wayne. How you doing? Chewbacca's voting for Mr. D. That's right. Hi, Roland. How you doing? So now a lot of us heard about Adam Kinzinger. Adam Kinzinger. He's retired from Congress, but he's like two peas in a pod with that John Ratcliffe. John Ratcliffe is the one who said last week or thereabouts that Congress would try to, if Trump won the election, that Congress would still try to kick Trump out. Now, I think he was trying to get a reaction out of people. They have no intention of letting there be any public perception that Trump won the election. They're going to do everything in their power to do what they did in 2-0 and then 2-0. They're going to have the print and presses running like crazy. But keep in mind, and he said it one time, it's the things that Trump says one time, in my opinion, or the things he posts without comment on True Social from other people. Those are important things to keep an eye on. But one time he was talking about watermarked ballots. Okay. So we're going to see what kind of a role that plays. So when you start seeing these things gel together, like Chuck Schumer should be in jail, okay, arrest Jack Smith. He put that up one time. And then he talks about watermark ballots, puts up Paul Sperry saying that Ratcliffe is going to prosecute CIA contractors. You put all that stuff together. And when he said, I'm going to appoint a very special, he puts quotes around special prosecutor. All that stuff goes in the hopper. You start seeing, because that's what's going in the hopper of people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, John Brennan, Eric or whatever his name is, Clapper, all those creepos. That's the comms they're worried about. Hi, Ronald. Well, we're going to see. What's going to happen tomorrow is Death Valley. Joe is going to speak along with Hillary. Boy, what a smack. What a smack at Hillary. To put her on Death Valley Day, the first day of the convention. Hi, CJ. And, we heard last week and the week before that the scuttlebutt was that Bill and Hillary were trying to encourage Joe to stay, and the other faction of the party were trying to make Joe leave. The California crowd, Nancy Pelosi, and part of the DMV. What was his name? Senator Warner. I got something about him too. But anyway, Adam Kinzinger put out, this is another thing, put out a couple of weeks ago, that he got smacked down by Officer Tatum, and I think it's worth repeating, because they try these trial balloons. They float out the trial balloons like they really put a strong push for Project 2025, which that was one of the things that got traction, but it's been crushed. It's not an issue. Even though Joe tries to bring it up, they still try to bring it up, along with Charlottesville, along with whatever other discredited crap. But anyway, they tried this trial balloon that Trump was afraid, or a crybaby. And Adam Kinzinger put out, Donald Trump's attack on the governor of Georgia proves to us, number one, he's a trembling child, incapable of controlling his emotions. 2, he's insane. 3, he's scared. What a whiny, weak loser. And the Officer Tatum saw that and put out a response. This is what Mr. T reposted. Trump got shot and didn't cry. You cried over a protest. Don't ever use the word weak again, especially about a man you have to mention daily to stay relevant. Ha ha ha, yeah, Adam Kinzinger. So, I had written down, I haven't looked at anything I wrote down, but I was going to start off with, it's not just another 4-year election, because of not only the lawsuits that we talked about earlier that are on life support, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on in the courts that the media won't cover, especially if it weakens the Democrats. And it's not even fair to call them Democrats, the cabal, okay? But there's so many things that if it was on Trump's plate, they would never shut up about it. Look how E. Jean Carroll topped the news. Some shaky old broad that is just trying to railroad Trump, along with Kaplan, and you heard about it over and over and over again. But you got Joe Rogan suing MSNBC for $30 million. You got Trump. He's suing ABC, George Slopadopoulos. What's that, for $50 million? He mentioned more than once about how the DNC should have to reimburse his campaign for $100 million. And don't think he won't take action on that for swapping out opponents. You got Elon Musk. Okay? He's suing all these ad executives for what, 100 and 150 million? He's also got this lawsuit against Disney going out. He's going to be suing Google for monopolistic practices. A federal court ruled that Goggle had a monopoly. I was reading that yesterday. So you put these judgment amounts up against what they're trying to jam Trump up with, and what they're jamming Alex Jones with, $1 billion. These lawsuits are going to break the back of the old guard mainstream media. They will collapse of their own illegality. And when, with all these actions going on with these lawsuits, on top of that, you got the attempted assassination of Trump, which they downplayed. And we've got prima facie evidence of their trying to skew public opinion and to disinform or keep the public uninformed of that assassination attempt. You've heard Elon talking about how they made attempts on him, and how even when he bought Twitter, he felt his life was in danger, or he knew his life was in danger. You got the EU making noises about what they're going to do about our social media and menacing business people here in America. You got an emergency landing happening with Trump's airplane that got zero coverage on the mainstream media. Unheard of. A week later, J.D. Vance's plane has to have an emergency landing. I saw a photo of it on the runway with a bunch of smoke coming out of the back of the rear tires. Nothing on the mainstream media. And then inside reports about, hey, who knows what the real meaning is behind Joe Biden having to have an emergency transfer on Air Force One at top speed where the airframe of the plane was shaking when they're trying to get him back to Maryland. I think it was Bethesda Naval Hospital. None of that's being reported on. You take all these things I just discussed. No, this is not just another 4-year election. Because what's at stake? What's at stake? I mean, it's not like, oh, gee, if we lose the election, we're going to put more money toward the Peace Corps, which is no longer really exists for any practical purpose. What I'm saying is the old issues are minuscule, are meaningless. We're talking about what's at stake for this election is civilization as we know it. Control over trillions of dollars of value of human production, of human effort, whether it's going to remain in its current state quasi-free, or is it going to be totally underneath the hammer of tyranny? What did Kamala say? Yeah, we're going to snatch that patent. What are you talking about, snatch that patent? And that makes me think of something else that I discussed yesterday. Executive powers. Just because a piece is on the chessboard after they make a move doesn't mean it's going to stay in the same place. Joe Biden is still on the chessboard. I talked about the dangers of what he might do as a lame duck if he accepts this coup of his authority and his presidency, which isn't 100% accepted. I mean, is he gonna take it, or is he gonna do something about it? We'll find out. But if it's his last hurrah, I've gone over what he could do. And the point is, that doesn't mean that that piece is going to stay on the chessboard. What if Kamala, the election is not the end of the presidency. January 20th is supposed to be. What if something happens where Kamala comes in? And Kamala can do executive orders like snatch that patent or institute price controls. That could happen tomorrow. We could get up and say, Joe Biden expired in his sleep. We're going to have a swearing-in ceremony for Kamala. What? Maybe that state funeral we were talking about wasn't going to be Carter. Trump brought it up again about Biden is very angry. He said that Biden can't stand Kamala even more. He used the word HATE, Okay, even more than he can't stand Trump. Trump did a little trolling on Kamala. He said they say she's a beautiful woman. He said, I don't know. I looked at her and I looked at myself. I think I'm better looking than Kamala. So that's just poking at him because it's not something they can really use against him. They just got to take it and eat that. They could probably get some cat ladies mad, crazy cat ladies mad over him saying that, but beyond that, pretty much people are just going to laugh. But anyway, think about that scenario. What if something happens and Joe corks off? Hi, Miss Mendersue. How you doing? Nice to see you. Let me see. Yeah, we got to raise the vibration, and I think we're doing it by our discussion of the issues and keeping our heads on a swivel and realizing these are, what did Trump say? These are cunning and evil people we're dealing with, and the pot in the card game is as high as it can ever be. This is winner takes all. It's the final stand, really. Oh, really? Since then, Penguin 6, they were kind of practicing a funeral. Well, Carter he is going beyond expectations. Trump brought him up again, and that statement I talked about a couple of days ago, where Carter's grandson said he hoped he would be able to vote for Kamala. So he's hoping he can go these extra couple of months, even though he's on a day by day. Oh my gosh, Roland, don't say that. I won't even repeat it. Mar-a-Lago. If something happened at Mar-a-Lago, they would try something from the ocean. That reminds me of John McAfee. All right. The one who said he had a dead man switch for all the stuff he's gotten on government computers over the years. He had a condo in Florida. Remember that? One day, half the building collapsed flat. No other structures were affected. And it turned out his son had a condo in there. And then the rumors are that is where he had his nerve center, maybe a SCIF, okay, a specialized compartmental information facility to activate that switch. And then shortly after that, he was supposedly committed you-know-what-aside in Spain. Remember that stuff, folks? And for the people who used to come on here, and be against Trump or whatever, they don't hear any of this stuff. And I'm sure not all of them, but at least 40%, 30% of these I call them nose wrinklers. They wrinkle their nose when they hear Trump's name. No rational thought behind it. It's just been ingrained in them through a high level of psychological warfare to not like Trump. You mentioned Trump's name. Their nose wrinkles as a uh, uh, subconscious reaction. But if they hear stuff what I just talked about, and the level of danger, like Roland mentioned, something maybe coming in from the ocean right into Mar-a-Lago. I don't think that would happen, but they use something to drop half that building. I don't know about. Oh, that's getting a little wild. Anyway, but I tell you, just like this denial of the Supreme Court denied Kamala and Biden's attempt to do this what was it, Title 9 or whatever it was, to where they or Title 10 or whatever, to create a special protection for transgenders in the federal government. Tennessee, a federal court rules there's no fundamental right to change birth certificate. 4 transgender women lost the fight to change the S3X on their Tennessee birth certificate. That was a federal court. Yeah, misinformation comes from both sides. Yeah, well, it remains to be seen, Ronald. He's going to pardon. Well, he publicly said that he wasn't going to pardon Hunter, but that has yet to be seen. And Hunter, I believe, is working for the White House. And what else have we got coming up that we got to keep an eye on that the media's not even talking about? That has caused political upheaval in the past. Shutting down the government. There's going to be something coming due for continuing resolution. If they don't pass a continuing resolution, there will be a government shutdown. We've always had that held over our heads every year, year after year after year. This time it's September 30th, 12 days after Trump's sentencing. And I saw a post, another retruth Trump posted without comment. And it has to do with the continuing resolution. Mike Lee put, should Republicans in Congress force passage of the SAVE Act, ensuring that non-citizens won't be able to vote in federal elections, by attaching it to the next continuing resolution, which must be passed by September 30th in order to avoid a shutdown. He did a poll, and this one lady reposted it and said, yes. The mainstream media is not talking about it. But the poll came up with 97.2 said yes, and 2.8 said no, with 42,000 votes. I don't know how many it ended up having altogether. But how could you not put something like that on the SAVE Act? They would pass that resolution 35 days or 36 days before the election. Uh, yeah, that's about right. A little late. I don't get where that conversation's going. Debbie and Diane, I don't get that. Barry Obama said, don't trust Flynn. That's right. He said, don't trust Flynn. I know Barack Obama said that don't trust Flynn. That means I trust him. And another thing, well, since we're talking about Flynn, he put out a statement that's I don't know why you wouldn't trust him to believe this about you, Crizzle, where we've got hundreds of billions of dollars going. General Flynn on Ukraine. It's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We all know about the BIO labs. He's bringing up biolabs. And there's a lot of money just flowing in. It's money laundering, you name it. So I'm not sure. I haven't been paying attention to every comment in the chats, but why would you not trust Flynn? About what? He's just calling out Ukraine for what it is. Oh, Barry Santora. I don't know who that is. I don't know. Here's that part about Mark Warner. Who is Don Winslow? Don Winslow. Because he put out a response to Mark Warner. Mark Warner was trying to muscle Biden out, and I guess they succeeded. But anyway, Virginia Senator Mark Warner was leading an effort to convince Joe Biden to quit the race. And Don Winslow's response was Cosa Nostra. So he's called a Biden loyalist and author. He put out a X, formerly known as Twitter, that said, Dear Mark Warner, are you sure you want to go down this road? You definitely know what I'm talking about. Think about it very carefully. Who is this author and Biden loyalist? Where does he get off? Could you call that menacing? A U.S. senator? Let me read that again. That's creepy, man. Dear Mark Warner, are you sure you want to go down this road? You definitely know what I'm talking about. Think about it very carefully. That's somebody that was is pushing for Kamala. Flynn's tour bus doesn't have Trump's name on it nowhere at all. MS says. Well, that's because Flynn's tour bus, they could say it's illegal campaign contribution. Just like what is the reality is what MSNBC, CNN, all these characters, these pollsters that are knowingly skewing the numbers, they are giving campaign contributions in the way of exposure, positive press. If they're willing to pay Mark Hamill and all these young creators 20 grand a pop to put up a good video, how much is the value behind constant positive stories cheerleading Kamala? That's a campaign contribution. Constantly hiding stories that would be beneficial to Trump. That's a campaign contribution. I believe there's going to be a monetary evaluation that's going to be put up for future either criminal punitive fines and or civil lawsuits. Oh yeah, MS. Yeah, watch out for the fake channels. It's like I was saying last night. You know, I'm never going to put up stuff. They're starting a UFO crap up again. A lot of people are jumping on that. You know, with old stories. What did Kennedy know about UFOs? What does Trump know about UFOs? We all know about Project Bluebeam. And for those that are listening that don't know, Project Bluebeam is where they can put images in the sky that you'll think is real, that can be seen for 100 miles. Remember when Queen Elizabeth passed away? In London, they filled the sky up with her image and now King Charles. It looked like a painting that people could see for hundreds of miles. And then you've got this M and then POX. A couple of weeks ago, Peter Sweden put out on X, breaking in capital letters. Health department officials in Colorado are reporting a human case of, all caps, the plague. What's going on? And how long ago was the plague? And how do they identify it? We know Colorado's a captured state. That's right. We got to be prepared. Cash, water, fuel, propane, food, dry food that lasts a long time. If you don't like it, like my mom used to say, you get hungry enough, you'll like it. Oatmeal, peanut butter, rice, dry goods, canned stuff. But Mom, I don't like it. You don't get hungry enough, you'll like it. And she was right. So what's these MPOX reports that are coming out? Did you all hear about what they're doing in Denmark? I mean, people can't take this stuff lightly, what Kamala's saying about snatch that patent. Makes me think of who is John Galt? Where's John Galt? And anybody that read Ayn Rand's works knows what I'm talking about. But Denmark, world's first carbon tax on livestock, will cost farmers $100 per cow. You know what a farmer's margins are some seasons? $100 per cow to give to some goofball government agency, and the farmer's just going to eat that. He's going to dig up his mayonnaise jars, screw open the lid, and take a couple $100 out to pay for it. No, of course not. He's got to pass the cost on. To paraphrase Shakespeare, this is from MoveOn.org, to save the planet, first kill all the cows. That's our takeaway from this CNN headline from the other day. We don't usually pay attention to Looney Tune ideas from across the Atlantic, but it's scary how many times they migrate here. Denmark's $96 a cow tax is to be imposed for, quote, the planet heating emissions they generate. Fining a cow for farting, I guess. A fart tax, a cow fart tax. If you haven't been paying attention, every time a cow burps or farts, the planet gets warmer. Those fiendish cows. It's the first nation to impose a tax on livestock and pigs and goats. And pigs and goats. So there's just some kind of mafia-esque climate change criminals that are coming down, shaking down farmers for $96 for every pig, goat, and cow they have. Like they're going to do something about it to make it, not that it needs to be better. It's like an old friend of mine said, dinosaurs will walk around this earth millions of years ago, crapping all over the place. Nobody said nothing then. And then I was talking about undercurrents, things that were happening that the mainstream media isn't covering. And we're dizzy from how things are changing all the times. But a judge ruled that two of Jeffrey Epstein's close advisors can face victim claims. In other words, they're open for liability. The victims of Jeffrey E., of course, we don't know what the final tally is, how many of them survived and didn't survive. Not only that, but the clients are just as guilty, and we've never seen the client list. You people who nose wrinkle at Trump, please pay attention to this. Okay? This election, all these individuals, their fates ride on this election. The hundreds of people on Epstein's client list who are people in positions of power. Because if the close advisors of the Epstein are going to be liable civilly, they're going to be liable criminally at some point, all of them. A U.S. judge said two close advisors to the late Jeffrey Epstein can be sued by victims who accuse them of aiding and abetting. That's not being reported. I heard gold went over $2,500 day before yesterday. Yeah, they think we're stupid, Ravens, but we're not. But a lot of them that vote here. Hi, Holo, how you doing? Well, there's rumors, Gary, that they have the bubonic plague somewhere, some frozen in some laboratory. And we heard, what's his name? Microsoft creep. Uh, Bill Gates say that they had smallpox stashed away somewhere. Elon Musk is worth $223 billion. I'm just putting that in perspective. $203 billion. People call him the richest man on earth. He's not. Uh, they're the Saudi nation, Saudi Arabia. There are people worth more than that. But we know the families, okay, that are being brought down right now have more than that and access to and control. If you control the money, you might as well own it. Yeah, Rasmussen reports put out. If this was something else that Trump retruthed. If the election were held today between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, who would you vote for? Independents only. Trump 49%, Harris 40%, someone else 7, not sure 5. So Trump has a 9% lead on independents. His for the black vote, the 20%, it was over that. It was 21 or 22% of the black vote remains unchanged. That's more than doubled. You put that with the lead with the independents, the independent vote, and the Latino vote increases in that. Statistically, without illegals voting, without what happened in 2020, there's no way Trump would lose. It's impossible for them to say with a straight face that Kamala has any kind of a lead. Election interference via the polls. You're not going to have nearly a 10% lead in independents and lose an election. So Trump put out, if you think things are expensive now, they're going to get 100 times worse if Kamala gets 4 years as president. Under her plan, she'll implement Soviet-style price controls. She'll abolish private health care, which she did say, just get rid of it, and make California's ridiculous tax policies the law of the land, meaning every American will be taxed up to 80% of their income. If you want more cash and less tax, vote Trump. But you know, California even has a tax if you move. If you try to get the hell out of there, they have in their tax code that the provisions where they can go after you for money. I don't think it's gotten to the point where anybody has challenged it. But I mean, it's like welcome to Hotel California. You could never leave. I'm just looking at some of the chats. Donald Trump put this up. Andy McCarthy, former U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney. The Trump team is right. The Supreme Court made it clear if there's an open immunity issue that needs to be litigated before anything else happens, and there's no good law enforcement reason why this sentencing has to take place prior to the election. There's no good law enforcement reason to put to sentence Donald Trump until these immunity issues are addressed. What is Merchan going to do? I mean, the clock is ticking. I guess he wants to keep everybody in suspense. I would love, oh boy, I'd love to see a pair of marshals walk in there and just get Merchan by his elbows and take him right out of that courtroom. Trump put out, Google is a crooked election interference machine. Totally illegal. They will pay a big price for what they are doing. So the House is investigating Google and antitrust laws and taking into account the Supreme Court ruling that Google has violated antitrust. Representative Lance Gooden, this is what Trump put up with that statement, a story from townhall.com, demands answer from Google as Harris campaign manipulates headlines. So there's another warning shot from Trump about illegal behaviors, and not a question mark at the end. Will pay a big price? Question mark? No, there's a period. They will pay a big price. And we just went over the 17th letter postings about Goggle. Ties with Utizel right out of where? Ruski land. Now, the other thing Trump is doing, he's putting out stuff about district races, congressional races. Remember, I read that article yesterday, I believe it was, or might have been the day before. But anyway, Tennessee, several long-time Republicans got primaried out. One of them, a state senator, cleaning house, okay, of these rhinos. And Trump, I mean, there's district races, I think, right in Alaska. Gary, that's your stomping ground. Nancy Dahlstrom will be a tremendous congresswoman. And just as she was your lieutenant governor. So she's running for Congress among other district Congress people. Wyoming is having a race primaries coming up. Alaska, Wyoming, and Florida has a pile of them coming up. Florida is getting a political enema as far as the House seats. I mean, they're going to be decimated. The communist faction of the Democrat Party, I'll put it that way, because I don't call all Democrats communists. A lot of them are just older people that are thinking about the Hubert Humphrey days and Paul Tsongas and people like that were not communists. So Alaska, Wyoming, Florida, Greg Stube in the 17th district in Florida. So y'all, in those states, you got some kin people living in them states, make sure they get involved in these congressional district races. We're going to kick out the props from their power structure. Trump put out everything Kamala Harris says in her speech is a lie. Yesterday, she got up and started ranting and raving that Donald Trump wants to put taxes on gasoline, food, medication, clothing, and everything else, when I've never said anything of the kind. So here, if you see MSM or Rachel Madcow or all these other operatives replaying her statements, replaying those blatant lies, that is a campaign contribution. And it's also repeating libelous and slanderous things. Remember, libel laws are very powerful. Tort law, 11.4 laws of the United States, or 11.3 laws of the United States. If Kamala wins, you'll have mass amnesty and citizenship for all the Biden-Harris illegals. If I win, you'll have the largest deportation operation in American history, starting at noon, Inauguration Day 2025. What did I notice about that statement? Noon, Inauguration Day 2025. He didn't say January 20th. I don't know. Maybe it's just a innocent omission. Where is that one where he called it a garbage dump? That's what I put in. That's what I put in my thumbnail from Mr. T. Here it is. We had to turn away lots of people in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, but Comrade Kamala social media operation showed empty seats long before the rally started, early in the afternoon, when in actuality, we had to turn away 11,500 people. She's a crooked left radical politician and always will be. Everything she touches turns bad, just like California and San Francisco before it. As is the case with all Marxists. She should have never been vice president and had to stage a coup of Joe Biden with her American-hating friends Barack Hussein Obama, got to get that right, crazy Nancy Pelosi, crying Chuck Schumer, and the rest. Kamala is a capitalist stone-cold loser. She will fail. And if she doesn't, our country will cease to exist as we know it, turning into a communist, crime-ridden garbage dump. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of the USA. It's as simple as that. I just put crime-ridden dump on my thumbnail. I didn't put communist crime-ridden dump. Let me see what's going on in the chats. Yeah, ranked choice. Yeah, that's bad news there in Alaska. Everybody's going to get rid of it. Gary says it's happening. And if you can get those House seats, I mean, ranked choice has nothing to do with these district House seats. You primary those rhinos out of there, and then they can change those. Ranked choice voting came about, and correct me if I'm wrong, came about because the Republican Party instituted it. Excuse me, I have a sip of my coffee. And that's because the Alaskan Republican Party is dominated by, or was dominated by, rhinos. This is it. This is where the ivory towers are shaking. And like in Florida, Florida is getting the final nails hammered in on a rhino coffin, and the Dems will never, they won't see dominance in or being close in Florida again. Now, what's going on over in Ruski land? They blew up a second bridge. They blew up a bridge a couple of days, 3 or 4 days ago, and they blew up a second bridge on Russian territory with their offensive that they have admitted is a gambit to be able to try to negotiate peace and have land returned in exchange. But the planned attack by Ukrainian armed forces on the Kursk and Zaporizhia is being supervised by Western intelligence, mainly Britain. That's coming from Russia media. That's important because what has Putin said? He was going to attack decision-making centers no matter where they were. So if the notion is that they are behind this, a large number of Western journalists have gathered in the Sumy and Zaporizhia regions amid Kiev's preparations for an attack on the Kursk and Zaporizhia, I don't know if that's how you say it, nuclear power plants. Remember, one of them got struck and caught on fire. And all the intelligence reports are that they've been trying to blow up, disable, or turn into an emergency situation nuclear power plants for the past year. So now here, when you got the media running away, somebody's tipped them off. But the Russian foreign ministry followed up on Putin's statement about peace negotiations and said that there's nothing to discuss with Kiev, calling Ukraine authorities red rummers, MURDER, okay, of civilians, saying, echoing what Putin said, and that the Ukrainian army is losing men and equipment in the Kursk region at almost twice the rate as similar figures in other areas. That's from Forbes magazine. So what they were expecting was that Russia would relocate a lot of their forces out of Ukraine to go back to defend Russian territory, and that hasn't been the case. They're keeping up their offenses in Ukraine and bolstering the Kursk area with reserves, and this group that went into Kursk is getting their rear ends kicked. And they're turning up the heat. Ukraine, they're bombing the hell out of Kiev. Russia is, as punishment. So it's going to be a big flop. Chicago businesses boarding up windows in anticipation of, quote, mostly peaceful riots during the DNC convention. That was from Citizens Free Press. And it shows on the plywood, it's printed on there, the original, in quotes, Chicago Board Up Services. And they got a telephone number. If you need your business boarded up because of riots, you can call the Chicago Board Up Services. So I don't know. My prediction is, and whatever is going to happen in Chicago, and there might be a little sporadic stuff tonight, but there's nothing going on right now. They are all gathering together and strategizing, okay? And who knows what night they're going to pick to really show their rear ends. You know, I would think that the first thing they're going to want to do is get a lay of the land, find out what areas are secured and not secured, how many people that they can get on the inside, be able to establish communications with people on the inside versus people on the outside of the security perimeter. And they're going to coordinate and time certain activities. You know, they're going to do diversions. And then, you know, start something else bigger later on or at the same time. And hey, like I said, opportunists, criminals that love chaos because, man, that's a new TV, that's new, you know, whatever you want. So, yeah, it's going to be a volatile situation. But I'm thinking that they have issued orders and they've got enough, I'll say firepower around there that they're going to be rough on those protesters. And how much of it we'll see, I don't know. But I think they're going to be ruthless. All right, I've gone on over an hour and a half. Well, I want to thank Gary for helping sponsor tonight's program. Didn't see, I might have missed it, but Gary got some booms in the chats. And I'll use my special effects next time I do a picture show. So anyway, it's going to be something. Now, it depends on how late this stuff goes, whether or not I broadcast tomorrow night, what kind of action goes on, what kind of things we see. What's Mr. T going to do during this national convention? I think he's going to comment on truth, and he's just going to let the world go by, never interrupt your enemy when he's in the process of destroying himself, right? Don't take the spotlight away from him. Keep it shining right on him. So, depending on events and when the programming, yeah, that's a good word, for the convention stops tomorrow, I may or may not go live. So if you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you are subscribed, you might want to check your notification bell if you hadn't been getting notifications. And all the other good stuff people know about UTISL, about giving thumbs ups, like, share, subscribe, all this type of stuff from UTISL. And I hope you all had a good time tonight. We got to keep our chins up because brighter days are coming. When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high, right? And don't be afraid of the dark. So anyway, thank you again for spending your precious time with me. You all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.